been a couple of months, but maybe you remember this video where I did a whole lot of preparation to this body and tried to get it ready to assemble, and guess what? I missed some spots. But anyway, here we are, and I'm just torching all of this and noticing that yes, there is still some finish left on this body that I'm gonna have to address, but that's what we're here for. I started torching this inside, and it probably would have been okay had there not been finish on the body, but where that is and that finish just catches on fire, it smells terrible, so I quickly just moved it outside, didn't really film a whole lot of that, and finished torching the rest of the body. Once everything is sufficiently charred, you could probably take like a wire brush or something and knock the majority of this extra stuff off, but I didn't. I just brought it in and grabbed some 150 grit sandpaper and started knocking this down as best I could. And the end goal here is just to get it smooth. Obviously we are lightening up the color too because we're removing some of that char just to see what is underneath and what we're really working with here. And I hear you, you're not here just to watch me sand a guitar because it's super boring, but I'm going to show you front and back where I'm doing this, because the cool thing is when I pick this guitar up, there's like this cool silhouette on the table left where I've sanded all this and the dust is, and I just thought y'all would see it. So initially I wanted this guitar to have like a gray burst effect, and I was going to use the darkest char on the very outside to be my black, and then I was going to dye the rest of it gray and just kind of have a gradient going from the center to the outside. Well, because of charring or whatever, the gray dye did not come through well, so this step was nearly purposeless, but you do need to probably water pop your grain and then sand it again anyway. You could have done this with just water or coffee or something that isn't dye, and it wouldn't have been as messy. I guess what I'm trying to say is you can skip the dye or the stain at this point and just use water to pop the grain as you move down grits in your sandpaper. From 150 I went to 220 and then finally to 400 before I decided to put a boiled linseed oil finish on it. And the boiled linseed oil is pretty straightforward. You basically just put it on there as much as the wood will soak in, and then you just come back after 15 minutes or so and wipe off any excess. You can come back later and put another coat on there. I wound up doing 2 coats like this, just letting the wood drink in as much of that oil as it possibly could for about 30 minutes or so, and then wiped off any excess that was left on the surface. After the second coat, I decided to kind of lay my pick guard and hardware and stuff on there and make sure that it was going to cover up all of that burnt finish that was still left on there, and it wasn't quite, so I grabbed some more sandpaper and knocked some more of that off as best that I could, and then I wound up doing an additional coat of the boiled linseed oil over everything one more time. The only thing I changed on my last coat of boiled linseed oil is I used a 4/0 steel wool to apply the finish to this, and this essentially just burnishes the finish. It makes it super smooth for what it is, and then just like the others, I let it sit for a little bit and then wiped off any excess. And of course you're going to have little bits of steel wool that's kind of like hung out on your finish there. You're going to need to wipe that off with a microfiber towel or lint free just to kind of grab that and get it clean. That's kind of a common sense thing there, but I think this color came out really cool. It's almost like a rosewood looking. I don't know how I managed that, but to me it just looks like a rosewood guitar, but it weighs like absolutely nothing because it's routed out for a swimming pool. It has also occurred to me that I'm very southern because this video contains the word boil and oil and wool all really close in proximity, and it makes it sound like ugh. But anyway, back to the guitar. So I've got this wiped off again, like I said, and the lighting is terrible. I'm trying to show what little sheen you get out of this oil. It's almost nothing, but it's more than nothing, but not a whole lot more than nothing. But at any rate, it's not very much. So what I've got here is just some paste wax. If you saw my last video, you saw how I made this, and this is my darker one because it's going on dark wood, so it's not that big of a deal. But I just rub this in everywhere, and then I'm just going to let this kind of haze over, and then you can buff it off, and it adds a little bit more sheen, but a ton of protection. I really enjoy this finish. That lower gloss really helps hide some imperfections, and it feels amazing, and it's basically impossible to mess up. I'm sure that it isn't impossible to mess up, but it's pretty much foolproof. And here's an attempt at showing how shiny it is. Obviously, like I said, it's less than satin, but it's more than just wood, so it's something. And now that I've got the body basically where I want it, it is time to start thinking about assembly on this thing. So, of course, just like every other step of the way, this body has fought me, and the holes don't line up for the neck plate that I bought. So I grabbed some toothpicks and some wood glue, and I'm going to just shove them in there and fill them full of glue. And this neck was bought from the clearance rack also, so it's already got holes drilled in it, and I've got to plug them up same way as I do on the body. For some reason, it's controversial to wipe off wet wood glue because half the internet just says you should let it dry and then like cut it off, or I don't know how that even works. I don't know why that would be controversial other than they say that you can force it down into the grain. But luckily I've already waxed this, so that's a plus, I guess, because the wax kind of keeps the wood glue from penetrating into the grain. But anyway, let me know down in the comments if you wipe your wet wood glue off or if you take a chisel and cut it off after the fact or whatever. Let me know down there. So anyway, I take this over to the drill press when all this gets dried, and then I just punch some holes in it. The only tip that I kind of can give you on this is make sure that the guitar holes are bigger than the screw diameter so that they can go through and actually pull the neck into the pocket good and tight. And then I just put the neck into the neck pocket where it should go, and then use a screw to kind of mark my holes that I need to drill there. And then this neck was pretty disgusting, so I'm just cleaning it here. I spray it down with some degreaser, and then I use steel wool, 4/0 steel wool, to go ahead and just scrub everything off of the fretboard and the frets. Now I'm coming through with some more of that paste wax, and I'm just hitting all this fretboard here and checking to make sure that the frets are level. There's a few of them where I've got a little bit of rock, so I just take some of these little whetstones, I think fret erasers, I'm not sure what they're called exactly, but at any rate, any high spots I just grind down with that and then double check again. I'm coming back through and then using a crowning file here to recrown these frets, and then we're on to the extra shiny stuff, and I just take my fretboard protector thing. I'm not exactly sure what this is called, but I use it to put the metal polishing compound on these frets, and it keeps most of it off of the fretboard. And then I use it again to Dremel this. I know a lot of people will go and tape off the entire fretboard, and that just seems like a waste of time to me. Another benefit to waxing the fretboard here is it keeps this compound from getting on there too, so I just don't have to do all the extra work of taping things off. I can just wax it and then use this little protector thing. Let me know down in the comments what this thing is called also. And when they're all dremeled, I just hit it with degreaser again, and then use a paper towel or a lint-free cloth here to get all this black stuff off from the polishing compound. And finally, I just hit the fretboard with some Diodario's hydrating conditioner on this. And even in this crappy lighting, you can see just how much of an improvement just, 30 minutes or so worth of TLC does for this fretboard. And I'm using more paste wax here on these screws as I'm attaching the neck. They do have a pilot hole in them that's the size of the center of the screw, not the thread, so that they actually do contact the neck correctly. But that's a tip too, to just make them go in a little bit easier, is use some of that paste wax. You're also going to want to start with the screws closest to the bridge first, so that it pulls it down into the neck pocket correctly, and then put the top two screws in. And now on to these tuners. So I picked up these vintage locking tuners, and then realized that I needed to get bushings that go in there because they're vintage tuners and these are not vintage holes, so I've got to put something in there to take up all that slack. Not a big deal, that is what Amazon is for, and here we are now. And so what I do on the back side here is I just use my straight edge here to mark where all these need to go and make lines so that when I'm putting the screws in, they will be in the correct spot. Speaking of screws, the ones that come with these are very tiny and the spacing is just a little bit off, so I'm actually using pick guard screws on these, and so I'm drilling little pilot holes here where I've got everything lined up and they're going where they're supposed to, and then putting these in almost snug but leaving enough wiggle room that I can line up the next tuner. If you did see the first video of this guitar body, you know that I did a lot of modifications to this pick guard, and basically one of the holes lined up, so I'm having to go and drill my pilot holes for the rest of the screws for this as well. For the electronics, I went back to Guitar Fetish. It's just so easy because you don't have to solder everything. Everything is just quick plugged in, including the input jack or output jack, however you want to look at that. It all just plugs in with a headphone jack. And these are the Texas wound single coils. And then that is the vintage 59 humbucker that I've got down there. And I picked this bridge up off eBay, also just a 6-bolt tremolo there. And just luckily those screw holes did match up. And of course I got to put the claw in on the back. There's 2 holes already pre-drilled into this guitar body. Again, didn't know if you knew this or not, but this was not a first-hand guitar body. I will say when you're putting these springs in for the tremolo, start in the middle and then work your way to the outside. You're going to fight yourself if you don't. I know a guy. I'm going to preface this next part with I don't really solder very much, and when I do, it's usually not done very well. Saying that, this ground wire that's hanging out has to be connected to the claw here. So I get my rosin and I get my soldering iron and I heat up this little tab here that you're supposed to put that on, and then I tin it with my soldering wire just like you're supposed to. The ground wire from the pickups comes pre-tinned, so that's not a big deal. And then I heat it up and everything just immediately sticks. That's the quickest, most efficient soldering I've ever done. Thanks. Free tip, if you've got locking tuners, go ahead and tighten them all the way down while you're working on the guitar, because when you're sanding or anything else, the vibrations may cause that to fall out and you may spend 30 minutes looking for it. So it's time to put a tension bar on this, and again, the screws that come with it are just way undersized. I actually had one break off on another guitar. So I go ahead and just make this screw hole just a little bit bigger and then beef up those screws just a little bit. And what I do here is I just loosen the strings just enough that I can kind of get this down and mark where the holes need to be, just pressing the screws into the wood, making an indentation, and then I just come in with a smaller drill bit than the screws themselves, make my pilot hole, and then we can screw this on down. And once we get this screw down where we want it, we just come back and we're going to tune this back up to pitch and move on to the intonation side of things. And if you've never adjusted intonation, it's not as big a deal as I once thought it was. Basically, what you're doing is you're lengthening or shortening the string scale length so that the octave matches the perfect octave. The 12th fret should be a perfect octave. And a little tip that I found if you've got a tremolo is you can kind of mash the bar and take some of the string tension off of that while you're loosening or tightening that screw to adjust it. And then on the action side of things, I've found that I've got two picks that happen to be 1.8 millimeters, which is pretty ideal for my action. And then I can slide them under at the 12th fret, and if they are not touching the string, I can lower these saddles a little bit just till they touch, and then I get my 1.5 to 1.8-ish action on that side. And then you just move across the strings and do the exact same thing. And then the last thing to do is to just make sure that you don't have any dead frets. So I'm literally playing every single note on the guitar, and if I find anything that buzzes, I have to address it. Luckily, I didn't find anything that buzzed, and before I started this video, I'd already checked and the neck was level. That's what that straight edge that you saw earlier was. Anyway, I think this guitar came out super cool. I think it looks great. It sounds good. And when I find a decent way to record it, I'll probably put some of those samples up here as well. Let me know what you think down in the comments.